So I thought I'd talk about how work can change. I've always enjoyed doing figurative work. I've always enjoyed painting faces or trying to paint them, and now I'm like really into, the past 10 years I've been really into doing figurative work. And the content isn't really changing, the content in my paintings, but the style and also the intent. This year the work is a little bit happier, it's lighter than it used to be, it's certainly more colorful. Last year the work I did last year was, and the year before, was for a show called Living in a Culture of Disregard. And so the show was all about people who aren't in the spotlight. They're not the Snookies, they're not on The Bachelor. They're people who in this time are treated with disregard. They're people that, well, you're not flashy enough, you're not this enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not, skinny enough, you're not handsome enough, you're not enough. So they're people that are just left behind. And what I tried to do was convey a story, again, from the inside out, that the internal conversation that we all have. And sometimes it was expressed in the energy around the figures. And then other times it was with text. And that's what I did in this painting, was text. But what I was doing was, you know, this year is colorful and a little bit more cheerful. Last year was a reflection of people coming from their heart, from the inside out, people who have been treated with disregard. Before that, I was doing a lot of pen and ink work. When I was living on Cape Cod, I started doing pen and ink work because I got tired of doing lighthouses and trying to conform to the Cape Cod way of you know, the only Cape Cod artwork will allow now is lighthouses and sailboats, that kind of thing. You know, except for some really extraordinary galleries. But anyway, before that, I was doing figurative work again, taking black and white photographs like I do now and turning them into color paintings. But the figurative work there was more traditional and less intent driven. And my work in the past, oh God, I don't know, I think 7 years has become intent driven. Someone asked me that question, what does your work mean? I remember I had one painting up. It was basically a silhouette, a colorful silhouette, but a silhouette of a man sitting at a desk. And the entire time I was painting it, I was thinking about Eisenhower. It wasn't actually Eisenhower, but I wanted to convey that feeling, the weight of Eisenhower, you know, the weight that he had on his shoulders. And someone actually said to me at a show where this was, "Is that Eisenhower?" He said, "I can't stop thinking about it. It's got to be Eisenhower." So God, I can't remember, when was that show? Anyway, since then, I've been intent. What is the intent? And whenever I'm talking to artists, I ask them, what is the intent of your work? What is the intent of that painting? I think it's an important question to ask yourself and to know, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Well, this was for the show Culture of Disregard. And I really wanted to show this painting because it's not like the ones I've been posting about on YouTube or on my blog this year. And I really love this painting. I love this. There's a few paintings I've done that are very much me. Well, they're all me, but, you know. Like, if I were a 65-year-old man, that would be me, I think. That's what I think. But anyway, the name of the painting is Where He Is Eaten. I'm a very big Shakespeare fan. I love Shakespeare. I love Hamlet. Oh my God, I love Hamlet. I love Hamlet so much. And one of my favorite lines is, well, Hamlet kills Polonius. Of course, everyone knows this. Hamlet kills Polonius, and, you know, a couple pages later, the king says, Hamlet, where is Polonius? And Hamlet says, he's at supper. And the king says, he's at supper, and something like that. And Hamlet says, oh, it's not where he eats, but it is where he is eaten. I think I got that right. Anyway, Hamlet gives this great quote that I have tattooed on my arm about a man may fish with a worm that hath ate of a king, and ate of the fish that had fed of that worm. And I love that. I love that line. I love that whole scene where Hamlet is playing with the king. And he's playing with the idea of we are all on the same level. But still the idea of it's not where he eats, it's where he's eaten. I love that play of words. And it's an image that stayed in my head since I was a kid. It's not where he eats, but where he is eaten. And for me, it's that picture of the worms going in and out of his body. That's just, it stayed with me for the last million years of my life. And where he is eaten, it's not where he eats, but where he is eaten. It's very haunting to me. And I'm someone who, probably shouldn't say this out loud, but I'm someone who has suffered from pretty deep depression at times, pretty bad. Okay, we won't talk about why, but from depression at times. And when I hear that line, when things are going well, and I'm just able to work and things are swimming and I don't have to worry, I hear that line, or I think about that line that I have tattooed on my arm, where he is eaten, and it reminds me of the depression, and it reminds me of that awful feeling of your heart is eating you alive. Your troubles are eating you alive. The things that you can't control but are controlling you are eating you alive. Where he is eaten. Where he is eaten in his heart is what I think. So with this painting, I had a particular image in mind. I had seen a picture of a man sitting low in a chair, actually from the King's Speech. Colin, whatever his name is sitting low in a chair looking up, and he's singing through his anguish in the King's Speech. And that idea of him sitting low like a child and looking up and singing out through his anguish haunted me. And when I first saw it on screen, I thought of where he is eaten. And so that's where the idea for this came. It was the marriage of the two ideas, not terribly original, but they clicked in my head. They made perfect sense. The face is obviously not Colin. It is a combination of men that I've known. My father and my grandfather, just different men that I've known. So I made him up. The seating is not exact to the scene in a King's Speech. I don't believe in completely ripping off people. I'm not one of those artists that goes, oh, I'm going to do a brilliant rendition of your idea. It's disgusting. But I needed to marry these two ideas that completely haunted me, and these two materials that I feel on a visceral level. So I brought them together. Here's a man who's being eaten alive by his sadness, his troubles, his anxiety. Whatever problems are plaguing him and weighing him down, that's where he is eaten. That's where he is eaten. And in the background, up in here, I have my monsters. Actually, I have it written in Italian. Monstri. When you're in a depression, when you're in an anxiety, when you're having those type of difficulties, the energy of the energy of that horribleness never, ever stops. It goes when you're awake, when you're asleep, when you're half out of it, when you just want it to stop. So that's what I wanted to bring out, my monstery. The monsters that drive us to be mean to other people, to acquiesce to other people. The monsters that drive us through our day and all of our interactions. Monstery. That's what I'm trying to convey here. And with the energy and the colors. The monstery. It's written all through. And then sometimes I went through and I wiped out the little monsters because I wanted it to be black. Black, red, oranges, grays, blues, Munster. And then I was looking at a book by one of my favorite painters and printers, or a book of work by one of my favorite painters and printers. His name was Jack Levine. And he just died a couple years ago, and I'm really sad because he was alive when I found him, when I found his work. And there was a show at the Boston Museum of Fine Arts, and I missed it because I didn't know it at the time, and I wasn't paying attention. I just found this really old, beautiful book from the, I think the 50s, and it was filled with his work. And then I started buying them on Amazon, I think, books on Jack Levine. I loved his work, but I was flipping through and looking at his prints, and one thing stopped me, and it was this Russian soldier with a fur hat. And the fur clicked. It clicked with the three ideas. Where he is eaten, King's Speech, hat. And again, I really don't like stealing other people's ideas, and I don't do it all the time. But the three of them just snapped in my head. And I had to have them. I had to put them all together. It wasn't, yes, I'm going to copy that idea, because I think it's nifty pants. They had to be together for me. They had to be together. The hat keeps that energy going. Maybe it's the madness coming out of his head. It's dark. Maybe it's the martyr, the death. The death that's in his head. I don't know. It clicked in my head and it had to be down. So this work was, number one, very therapeutic, but the show, Culture of Disregard, is completely, not completely, but it is different than the work I'm doing now. It's been a shift, a change. And it's okay to change. You don't have to paint little red boats for the next 50 years. You don't have to paint happy children on the beach for 60 years. It's okay to change. I say that because no one said that to me when I was younger. I was told you have to pick one thing and stick to it. It's nuts. My dad didn't even do that. My dad was in the Navy by the time he was 14. He went into the Secret Service. He was a drum boy in one of the wars. I don't even know. He was very old. But yeah, so Secret Service. Then he was a little bit of an assassin, but we won't talk about that. What did he do after that? Then he went to medical school. He was a doctor. He was a physician for Roosevelt while he was going to school at George Washington University to become a lawyer. And even as a lawyer, he went, maybe that's where I get the spasticness from. He went from one type of law to another type of law to another type of law. He was a tax lawyer, he was a criminal attorney, he did all kinds of things. There is no reason, just like John Lane chose many different careers in his lifetime, There is no reason that as a painter you need to pick one idea and stick to it. If I had to do paintings of depression and anger and monsters in my head every day for the rest of my life, I think I'd have to be on medication. Lots and lots of medication and alcohol to keep functioning. Because this can be hard. This can be just as draining as painting happy children on the beach when you just don't feel like it. What I'm saying is, it's okay to evolve. It's okay to change. It's okay to change your mind. It's okay to change technique. It's okay to get better. It's okay to throw away an old idea and take a new one and try and see things from another direction. It's okay. The world will keep spinning. But I'll tell you what's not a good idea, what you can't do, is quit. And I really need to get back to cutting out this stencil for another painting I'm working on before it gets so cold in here that Bugsy and I just can't function. So, no quitting, changing good, evolving good, quitting not good. So we're getting back to work now, okay? Ciao.